everybody. It's Connie with SimplySimpleStamping.com. Thank you guys so much for stopping by today. I have got a brand new one sheet wonder tutorial for you guys. This one is fantastic. I know how much you love creating the one sheet wonders, and trust me, I love creating them for you. This one is done with the Petal Promenade Designer Series paper, and we also use the beautiful Promenade stamp set to go along with it to do all of our sentiments and a little bit of stamping on the inside. Guys, it's a fabulous project. We've got a lot of cutting to do, so let's get started. So, there is a tutorial available for this because diagrams, measurements, things like that are very important. So I do have a tutorial with some very distinctive diagrams and then, of course, photos of all the cards for you to see. But let's go ahead. We're going to start with talking about our paper. I'm using the Petal Promenade Designer Series paper today, and I pulled out 4 sheets from the pack that I think look best with this one sheet wonder. Now, listen, any designer paper is going to work, but I absolutely loved these bold patterns. We're going to go with this paper here. I thought it was just beautiful with all those pinks. Let's go ahead and talk about the cardstock you need to make the cards. I have 4 each of Blushing Bride. I have 4 each of Whisper White Thick and 4 each of Gray Granite. These are 8.5 by 5.5 scored at 4 1/4. That's going to create our 12 cards. Are you ready? It is time to cut into that paper. Sometimes that's the scariest part. I've got my cutting blade here. I'm going to move it down to the bottom because whenever I cut on paper, I always want to push the paper up towards this guide. It guarantees me a nice straight cut. So the first cut I'm going to make is going to be 3 3/4 inch. Now you guys have heard the old phrase, measure twice, cut once. We're gonna do that. I am sure I'm at 3 3/4 inch. Now, another little trick I have for you when working with this paper, and that is to bring in the backing paper that came with it. This is going to allow us, I'm just going to set each piece as I cut it, I'm going to set it on this 12 by 12. Now it's going to be out of the camera shot, but this really helped me keep all of my pieces organized. So back to cutting, taking my cutting blade down. We're now going to cut at 2 3/4 inch, checking my measurement twice. And then that leaves me my last piece, which is 5.5 inches. All right, so like I said, there they are on the board. Now I'm going to take the first one. I'm going to rotate it. Yes, this is a 3 3/4 by 12. I'm going to cut it at 3 3/4. So there's one. We're going to cut another piece that is 3 3/4. And guess what? We're going to cut this one at 3 3/4. And that's going to leave us a little 3/4 inch by 3 3/4 inch strip. And hopefully you can see it there. I've laid the pieces out on my board. I've got those done. We're now going to work on the 2 3/4 inch by 12 piece. We're going to cut one at 4 1/4 inches. We're going to cut another one 4 1/4 inch. And then the remaining piece is 3/4 by 3 1/2. I'm going to go ahead and lay those on my board. And now we're ready to cut our last one. So my first cut here, cut at 1 3/4 inch. And we're actually going to cut 3 of these. So I'm going to have 3 pieces that are 1 3/4 inch by 5 1/2. What I have remaining is 5 1/2 by 6 3/4. So what we're going to do now is we're going to, here, this is my 6 3/4 inch here. We're going to do 2 pieces that are 3/4 inch. I now have a 5 1/4 by 5 1/2. So let's rotate that. So just to verify, I have my 5 1/2 inch area up here at the top. So we're going to cut this down to 1 1/2 inches. And that is going to leave us with a piece that is 4 by 5 1/4. There we go, all my pieces. Now I know that was daunting. Honestly, guys, that's why I'm a big fan of getting the tutorials. I like having images available. Now, one thing I want to point out on my diagram here is that I have these numbered 1, 2, 3, 4A, 4B, 5B. So you're going to see what I mean there, because let's move on to our next bit of cutting. And this is very minor, but some of these pieces we do need to cut down. The first one I want to cut, we're going to take this second one, and this is a 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. And this is pretty easy. Let's just cut these down to 1 1/4 inch. So we'll have 3 equal pieces that are 3 3/4 by 1 1/4. There we go. We're going to lay these back on the board because that's what we do. I'm going to take piece number 3 and I'm going to do a little tearing. I'm going to tear, about 1 1/2 inches. It's really not rocket science. You notice I like to tear, and I like to tear towards myself. And we'll get a nice little torn edge. That's going to give us a different look. We're going to lay those down. And this piece I've labeled 5B, and this is the 3/4 inch by 3 3/4. And we are just going to cut a banner out of this. So I like to cut a slice right down the center and then go up. There we go, little banner. We're going to lay that one back down. This is one of the 2 3/4 by 4 1/4 inch pieces. And we're just going to cut this at an angle. Guys, there's no right or wrong on this one. Just cut it at an angle. We had 3 pieces that were 1 3/4 by 5 1/2. Let's do some cutting on this one. We're going to cut off 1/2 inch so that we will have 1 1/4 inches by 5 1/2, and then 1/2 inch by 5 1/2. With our next one, we're going to tear right down the center, just as we did before. I like to tear in little short spurts, tearing towards myself. We'll get that one torn in half. Wonderful. Let me lay those on my board. And our last one, we're going to use the 1 1/2 inch circle punch. And what I'd like you to do is get as close to that edge as possible when you're punching these. Stay really, really close. And if you snip an edge, don't worry, we're actually going to be layering these together. Now, to get that last one, I only have a little bit left. And we are going to get just a little half circle. It's still going to work perfect for what we're doing. So we've got our little circles. Last one, and that is our 4 inch by 5 1/4 inch piece. And I've got a 2 1/4 inch circle punch. Let's push that in as far as it will go. And we're going to punch a window. All right, it might not be all straight and pretty, but I have got all my pieces there. And like I said, this is going to make working with each card so easy. As I said, because each piece is numbered. So now I can go to my tutorial and we can begin with card number 1. All right, now I'm not going to put every card together because I know you don't want to sit here and watch me adhere everything, but let's kind of go over. So this is card number 1, and you're going to use piece number 1 to create that card. You can see I've stamped down here in the corner and on the inside. Card number 2 is on the gray granite cardstock, and you can see I added the 3 strips onto this card. Card number 3 is on Blushing Bride. This is the one that we tore in half, and watch what we're going to do. We're going to flip this around. We're going to flip this around, and you can see I just adhered those two pieces together, just like so, stamped on the card. Card number 4, this is on Whisper White thick cardstock, and you can see this is one of the pieces that we had at an angle. We just adhered those together, and I stamped here at the corner. Card number 5, this is the one where we use the little banner cut and also one of our die cut pieces, or our angled pieces, forgive me. And you can see, just adhere those together, stamped here on the left-hand side. Easy, easy card. Just adhered the designer paper right there in the center, stamped a sentiment on gray granite. Card number 7 is one of my favorites. So you can see I just adhered the 3 circles, and there's that little half one. Remember, we had that little half one. Just adhered that right there in a simple "You Are Loved" sentiment. Card number 8, we got a little fancy. So what I did here is I have a flap on this card, and this is just an additional score line at 1 1/4 inches. So you can see it's going to open like this. And we just adhered the strip to the outside flap and then the remaining piece here on the inside. Very easy, but it's nice to have a little bit of a unique card among our little collection. Card number 9, these were the 2 pieces that we cut in half, and just like we did before, I can take this piece and flip it over because of course the designer series paper is beautiful on both sides. And you can just take that right to that edge. Yes, so easy. I stamped here on the outside and also on the inside. Card number 10, we use that circle that we cut, and on the cardstock here, or on the designer paper, we just flipped it over and added that circle, and I had just enough room for a sentiment. Card number 11, another one of my favorites, I guess just because we have so much of the paper there and just enough room when I punched with the 2 1/4 inch circle punch, enough room for my sentiment right there. And our final card. You can see I just added those last 2 strips and did a little stamping. Look at that, 12 cards done. Now let's package these up pretty, shall we? So for my packaging, I took 2 of our card base acetate boxes and I just put tear and tape all along 4 sides and I adhere them together so you can see how the flaps are going to open, but that's going to allow me to take 12 envelopes and we can put those into the box. And now for the other side, I can add my stamped cards. There we go, everything in the package. You can see I added some of our Whisper White polka dotted tulle. I had 26 inches of that, and that just kind of finished off the box nicely. So now you can either keep these for yourself or what a wonderful gift it would make. There you go, a really fantastic project. And like I said, you can package it up and make it look real pretty or just have 12 cards always ready to go if you need a card in a hurry. These projects are really a lot of fun. Now remember, the designer series paper is on sale right now. Buy 3, get 1 free. We have 10 different packs that you can choose from. And that is for the month of July. So make sure you check that out over at simplysimplestamping.com. And hey, while you're there, if you're wanting to get that tutorial on how to create that, you like that diagram and all those close-ups of all the cards, be sure to look up at the top menu bar at simplysimplestamping.com. You're going to see Let's Get Creative Tutorials, and that's where you can purchase that tutorial so you'll be able to create these cards over and over. Because remember, it's not just about this designer series paper. Any 12 by 12 designer series paper is going to work. Well, my friends, that's it for me. Thank you so much for being a part of the video today. I sure appreciate you. Have a fabulous day, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.